All right.
No, it's
All right, cool. Let's go ahead. So, now that we got everybody here, Gordon, did you get a chance to watch that video?
I did not. No, I've been busy cleaning my garage all day and jumping on a bicycle for the first time. I'm getting my foot out of a boot this week and
Oh, cool.
starting to move around and do some cardio.
Yeah, you haven't got much time, man. You're going to be on skis in 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Trying to think how long is it's. I know it's the new ski season. Ski season started July 1st, so 2024, 3/24 just started, so we're ready to go. All right, let's. It'd be easier if I did this. Slideshow. Begin. All right, cool. But I don't want to do it this way. Why are you doing it this way? I don't want to do it this way. Why are you doing it this way? You know what? I'm just going to do it this way because it's easier. That way I can look at my notes because I do have some notes. So if something happens and you guys are not seeing the slide, this one doesn't have any like embedded GIFs or anything like that. So it should be pretty easy. But don't skip ahead too much. So, all right, cool. So we're going to talk about, and this is the sort of the level 1, level 200. Actually, it's level 2. It's 100% level 2 understanding of ski to ski pressure. And the fundamental, as we all know, is control pressure from ski to ski and direct pressure to the outside ski. Everybody follows that, right?
Mhm.
Cool. And these are just kind of like straight from the previous one. So the question is, what is your understanding of the fundamental? And especially for those of you who watched that last video, has anything changed? Or have we modified our understanding?
Well, one of the things she said was counter was a bad word, but she didn't expand on that. So I thought that was kind of an interesting comment. And I was trying to figure out why she went there. And I guess depending on where you are in the turn, counter can be a bad thing. And I think that's what she was alluding to.
Boy, you're trying to steer me down a path right now. There was one thing that I had against the Chris Caruso's presentation last week about rotation. And he introduced into the preparatory position. Or that's not what it's called. What is it called? Now I gotta look it up.
And anticipation.
Anticipation. And the question I brought up is because this is straight from the manual, and it's I didn't do it like verbatim, but I was like, so the preparatory position or the anticipatory position is a position which allows you to move. And he was using that as kind of like the fourth, and technically it kind of is. But I still believe that outside agency was kind of introduced later on, and that seems to be more of the fourth way to rotate. But the same thing, it all becomes really, really interconnected when we start talking about, a positional aspect of it. And it's a snapshot in time in a lot of places. So anticipatory position is, or anticipatory stance, or however you want to call it. Is a position to move. It allows you to move. And it's the same way here as that she was talking about. And you're looking at kind of what she's talking about as she's moving laterally across that bar. And she's adopting all the things that we expect from ski to ski pressure, right? All of the movements that we were talking about. But she's also talking about kind of the leveling of the hips. And we're going to really kind of explore that a little bit, because the question that comes up is, why? Why is it so important? Why do we do this stuff, right? Why do we, are we interested in outside ski pressure? So anybody got any thoughts on the understanding on the fundamental? I really am kind of interested to know where you're at on the fundamental. So popcorn style, if you got some ideas, go ahead and throw them out. I can come with you from like the rollerblade realm because that's what I've been doing lately.
To get the ski to bend.
Yeah, I
I'll
gotta get
throw
this
that one out.
bag. But I also have to create a platform, don't I? And we gotta have something to. We have to have something to move against. We're gonna talk a little bit about that.
Well, and how you get there.
Yeah.
You know, are you shortening the inside leg or extending the outside leg? Or some combination, or one short and the other one shorter? You know,
Somehow
how do
we're
you get
getting,
there?
somehow we're getting pressure from one ski to the other ski.
Yeah,
Right?
Well, also, if your pressure and your weight is not at the downhill ski, which is the direction that you want to move in, which is downhill, then you're like up the hill. I don't know if that makes sense.
Let me ask you this. What's the number one fundamental movement that we do that is just like what we're talking about? Hold on. I'll turn the fan on. The sun's coming in and it's getting hot.
Are you talking about fore and aft?
No, what's the number
Or
one
center
movement that we
mass.
do every single day?
we walk.
We walk, right? And our bodies are built around that whole idea of walking. And which side is our big toe on? Is it on the inside or the outside?
Inside.
It's on the inside. And we are built to support ourselves more kind of centrally in our body, right? So that we can align ourselves over our legs, right? And as we walk, which in a way is kind of like controlled falling, right? We got to lean forward in order to fall forward so that we can catch up to ourselves with our feet. We land on our heels and we push off with primarily our big toe, even though we use all the all the four corners of the foot, which is actually only three corners because technically our foot is a tripod. But we use all the parts of the foot in order to move forward. So yes, and it's the same way with skiing. So when we're talking about skiing, the strong leg is going to be
The outside.
leg. It's the outside leg. So what is the outside leg? What defines the outside leg? Because this came up in a level 3 in the level 2 the other day. What defines what the outside ski is? No, I actually wrote it.
Turn. The turn.
Huh?
The turn.
The turn.
Whichever way you're turning, your outside leg is the one on the outside of the turn.
It's the one on the outside of the turn.
Right.
So the best explanation I saw was the ski that is farthest from the center of this turn is the outside ski. And that way we don't have to worry about what is the downhill ski or the uphill ski, except when we start talking about transitions, we tend to kind of go right to that language, don't we? So yeah, cool. Anybody got anything else? Body parts. What body parts do we move? And the hint is that it's pressure control. All of you are like level 2s. You should know this by now.
Ankles, knees, and
the
hips.
feet,
Yeah.
the feet,
We're talking
Ankles,
about
knees, and hips.
yeah, we're talking about joints, right?
yeah, your feet, your knees, your hips, your whole lower
Yeah,
body is
exactly.
connected.
Cool.
Well, you're moving your center of mass, really.
Okay. Yeah. I've got to copy these straight from Gordon's last one. And these are all, you all can all look at these if you want to. Transfer of pressure and balance from one ski to the other is most fundamental aspects of alpine skiing. I think it's a fundamental aspect of any movement that we do with our bodies. We have to be able to move from one foot to the other. And you can read these at your leisure later on if you download the presentation. Not all of these are true. I do like what Tom Golden says. Outside ski pressure determines how much the ski grips versus skid. And we'll talk about the kind of fundamentals of that. And that's part of the previous presentation, but we're going to add on to that, right? What does the technical manual say? Lateral movements and moving sideways, because we're talking about which plane are we talking about now?
Frontal plane.
The frontal plane or hemispherical plane, or it depends on whatever you want to call it, right? The frontal plane, transverse plane, not transverse, I'm sorry, the plane that cuts our body from front to back in half, right? And we move along
Sagittal.
side to side. Sagittal moves front to back. This is lateral, side to side. Lateral movements and moving sideways to shift the weight to the outside ski occur in the frontal plane. To move from turn to turn, the ski must reduce pressure on the outside ski and transfer pressure to the new outside ski. And this last one, pay very particular attention to because it's incredibly nuanced. The skier must move their center of mass to the inside of the turn and direct pressure towards the outside ski.
So what I find really interesting about this is they're talking about moving the center of mass here in ski to ski pressure. And that's really, if you think about it, that's an edging movement. That movement is always going to tip the skis on edge.
It is, that's why they're so closely related, right? And even if we do the short leg, long leg, like if we're just, legs are even and we start to shorten one leg, automatically start to tip, right? Automatically start to tip. Now I do have one little beef. And this is a Chuck thing, so don't repeat it. I do not believe that we move the center of mass to the inside of the turn.
Oh, interesting.
I believe that the base of support moves away from the inside of the turn.
Chuck, I was just
It
thinking
is a-
about that when Rebecca said we move our center of mass. I'm like, do we move our center of mass or do we move our feet and legs so that our center of mass is in a different position in relation to the skis? But the center of mass isn't moving. We're moving our feet and legs.
So I think it depends a lot on the quality of the skier. Most skiers are going to be tipping their whole body to the inside. They're going to be using cores and some long leg, short leg. A better skier is going to have their torso remain upright and they are going to extend their feet and legs outside, keeping connection with the snow. So, you know, I think both are true, but I think the better skiers are the only ones who are going to be moving their base of support.
Well, but if we look at what Hal was talking about in terms of moving the hips along that bar, you are moving the center of mass along that bar, and that changes the whole relationship of your legs, ankle, knees, hips, and ankles. So I think it's kind of a chicken and egg question. Whether do the feet move your center of mass or does the center of mass move your feet? I'm not sure, they're simultaneous in a way. I don't know if somebody else disagrees with that.
So I think at the start of the turn, a really good skier, their feet are going to be moving away until they create enough pressure that the skis, the centripetal force starts pushing them to change direction. The first few instants or moments of the turn, as they're tipping on edge, there's no pressure there. They are creating some change of direction, but it's not actually creating a lot of centripetal force to push them the other way until they approach and cross the fall line. And then it's going to move their center of mass a lot the other way, especially in a longer radius turn, right?
So let's break it down to some basic premises. One of them is that we have all been taught, and we've heard this probably a million times, that the center of mass travels less than the base of support. And that's why I resist the idea that we move the center of mass to the inside of the turn. Because frankly, why are we moving something that's traveling less than the base of support? And if we understand that the base of support moves to the outside as a reaction to forces that are building up, which Gordon kind of pointed out, which are centripetal forces that are happening, which are trying to pull the center of mass away from the inside of the turn. And we're resisting that with the base of support. Then you start to kind of understand the idea of the center of mass. We're not really moving the center of mass, we're resisting the movement of the center of mass by adjusting where the center of support, our base of support is. So we move the base of support out to keep us from going out. And then when we get to here, we go to the other side, we are resisting almost immediately the pull to the out of the turn. So that's why I kind of have this kind of like nuanced beef. I think, and when you start splitting hairs, to be honest with you, we're we're talking about the same thing. I'm just like, we've got to change the words a little bit, right? So there, it is true. We're kind of moving the center mass to the inside of the turn, but I'm not like, I don't think we're moving it, except we're keeping the center of mass to the inside of the turn, right?
I also, based on the, the videos, and I didn't watch them fully,
Yeah.
but in the first one, Kate Howe is talking about the hip dip. And I think if you
Yeah.
focus on the movement of the center of mass, you are more likely to be coaching a hip dip or a movement that's focused on moving the middle part of the body rather than the legs under. If you look at the second, like the ideal, like it's almost like, I guess, depending on where the center of mass exactly is for each skier, but it doesn't even look like their upper body or their center of mass move. It's all leg movement in that ideal. And so while I agree that the center of mass, whether it moves or is resisting the movement, we don't want to focus on the movement of the center of mass, because I think we will get bad things, not good things, or bad habits, not good habits.
Yes. So Kate Howe does it. She was talking about hip dip, and that's like a very particular thing that she's talking about. And I think the point that she's making in there is way more important than combating the hip dip, right? It's the fact that we understand that, yes, the center of mass moves in relationship to the base of support, but it's the opposite of what she's kind of doing there, which means that the base support moves way more than the center of mass. If you watch Richie Berger and Riley McGashin here, you see that the base support is moving way more than the center of mass. And two of the best demonstration skiers, technical skiers in the world. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, I'm going to kind of defend, because, I'm a contrarian. I'm going to kind of defend the technical manual a little bit. So when it says that the skier must move the center of mass to the inside of each turn, does that mean we're resisting again? Is this more of a clear picture in terms of resisting, pushing, extending against the forces that are being created? Yes, no, maybe? Or is everybody's giving me the blank stares now?
Say that again.
What I'm saying is that the way that they have worded it make more sense to the average individual instructor, that we move the center of mass to the inside of the turn because we resist, extend, push against the resultant centripetal forces that are being built up. Does that make more sense to the layperson, to the lay instructor?
It's a simpler concept, so I'd say yes. It's much simpler to visualize and see that. On the surface, it makes sense, but in the reality, I like the way Gordon said it. You know, it's the
Yeah.
better skiers. That's not what they're doing.
Well, yeah, Gordon's realizing the same as you was that, you know, what we work on most of the last year with Larry, right?
Yeah,
Extending our legs out, bringing them back
Yeah.
in, extending our legs out, bringing them back in. Because we're not going with the legs anymore. We're extending them out as a result and then bringing them back in. So it's a different concept than what we're talking about here. You know, we're not pushing anymore. We're letting the skis go out and we're letting them, then we're engaging them and bringing them back. So it's a different way of looking at it. Cool.
So
Anybody else got any comments?
the other thing I'll say is I think the technical manual just incredibly oversimplifies this topic because all it talks about is a long leg, short leg movement. And really that's only at the start of the turn and through the finish of the turn, you continuing to do that, but it's got to be very controlled as you get later into the turn. Really the outside ski pressure is being created by the other fundamentals being executed well. You're getting pressure to the outside ski later in the turn because you're creating some counter and your body is lining up and balancing more over the outside ski. You're also getting pressure to the outside ski because you're using some angulation, which again keeps your center of mass in a more balanced relationship with the outside ski. But none of that gets mentioned in the technical manual, which I think is really interesting. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but as I've come to understand it more, I feel like the technical manual is a little light on this topic.
Well, and you know, when they wrote this technical manual, I mean, it was literally the year after Ushuaia, right? And where they had just introduced like the 5 fundamentals. And they had done a pretty good job. But now since then, they have fleshed this out like way, way more. You know, and it's in a lot of cases, very oversimplification. And then a lot of other cases, they prove me wrong or that prove me right all the damn time because it depends on how you read it.
Yeah.
It tends to be very, very nuanced, but it's sometimes in simple, dry language. It's kind of irritating.
But I mean, even the call when we talked about ski to ski pressure, we really didn't bring up those topics very much.
No.
The discussion at a level 3 was more, you know, how does fore aft relate? Well, it relates by allowing you to make the movements with smaller body parts. How does edging relate?
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway.
Cool.
One question.
Yeah.
On bullet 3, what instead of having the word must move, what about must keep? Is that keeping it there could be 1, you're moving it to keep it there, or 2, you're just having the legs pendulum from left to right, or some combination thereof.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
yeah, I like it.
That changes it completely, doesn't it? Now we're not talking about moving it anymore. We're talking about trying to keep it there.
We're talking about body position, like where should
Yeah.
the body be?
Yeah. And I'm trying for the most part not to talk about snippets in time because, you know, at some point in time, we have to kind of like move away from that. But, you know, when we're talking about MA, this is what we do. Hey, look at that. No, there's the movement. You know, it's snippets in time. So it's kind of like anticipatory position, right? It's a position of being ready to make something happen. And then it was funny because they addressed it at the end of the call. I think Gordon, after you had already left, to say, hey, Gumby said this, and I'd been taught it was a position and that it was ready, you know, ready to get ready. And then Chris came back, well, no, it's not. And then literally said the same thing with more words. All right, cool. Whoops. All right, so in order to get a better understanding, by the way, on this one, I actually added the arrow and I added the center of mass because, Kate Howe. And how the center of mass moves along this kind of arrow. All right, what does it look like? And I've kind of changed this a little bit. This is not quite what you had before, Gordon, but it does say the transition through initiation, old long leg shortens and short leg lengthens. And then when we're looking at it from an M-based standpoint, ideally the long leg is visibly shorter than the short leg. Except when? That's
At
the
some
idea.
point, they're both going to be equal at the exact, when the skis are flat at the exact level of transition, they're going to be equal length.
They will be equal length. And this is not a trick question. Well, it's not a trick question.
Well, I mean, if you're going from one to the other, at some point, they're going to be equal.
Yeah.
It's.
I don't understand that statement, Chuck. Ideally, the long leg is visibly shorter than the short leg.
The long leg is visibly shorter than the other leg, right?
He just misspoke, Scott. I heard,
No, I'm
I
looking,
heard
I'm
what
looking
you
at the
heard.
statement on the screen.
It's
Ideally, the
visibly
long leg is
longer.
visibly,
Oh.
It's
Typo.
visibly longer.
bullet 2.
Ideally, the long leg is visibly shorter than the short leg. This is level, remember, we're talking about level 2 understanding, except when it isn't, right? You want me to show you some examples of where, because when you're looking at these two photos that are here, and these are the photos that Gordon put on there. Those are, you could tell, the guy is extending against the outside ski on the top photo. The guy in the racing, he is extended to the fullest amount on the outside ski at 1, and then he's allowing the inside ski to shorten, or the new inside ski to shorten as the new outside ski begins to extend.
But we think you wrote the phrase in bullet 2 backwards.
Long leg is,
Ideally, the long leg is
sorry.
visibly longer
you
than
know
the
what? You
short
are
leg.
so, thank you. Oh my God.
Okay.
Long leg is visibly longer than the short leg. Duh.
I was
Thank
trying to
you.
get my head wrapped around that, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm a little confused here. That
Okay.
doesn't look like that. Can you show me that in the picture?
This is why I'm not very smart. I was trying to point out a point and I made it even worse. I'm not very
Like, we were
smart.
all
I'm
sitting here
sorry.
going like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm like, wait, this is definitely shorter. How is the other one longer?
well, I mean, when I start looking at really, really good skiers, and I'm going to bring up an example because we kind of just looked at it, right? I'm going to bring up an example. Sorry about that. My apologies. That's what happens when you don't, you're not very smart. I'm just not very smart.
No, you just
You're
didn't
very
proofread.
smart.
All right, so I've got TDK. You guys have known this is something that he was talking about in parallel skiing, but I've kind of shortened it up to this little spot right here.
Mm,
And we can agree this is good skiing, right? Kind of some basic parallel short turns.
Well, based on last week and what we've been working on, too much up, down. Sorry, Chuck. That's what I saw.
Too much up,
But it would
down.
be perfect in France or, Europe.
yeah. He's got a little too much rotation in his left leg every now and again compared to the right leg. He's just
Yeah, he's
getting
got
a
a
little
short.
different.
He's got a short to turn. But the point that I'm trying to drive home is, are the legs one leg visibly shorter than the other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
sorta,
very
kinda,
subtle,
right?
because
Yeah.
they're almost the same length.
They're almost the same length. It's really hard to look at them and go, compared to the slide we just had, this is like, wait a minute. So what's different?
Well, he's got his feet quite close together and he's on a flat slope, so he doesn't
doesn't need
have
a-
to get a very long leg, short leg. If his feet were farther apart and it was steeper, he would have to have more separation.
That's what I was gonna say. It's not, the slope isn't that steep.
Ooh, you said an important word there. Can you guess which one it is? Hold on. So that's them. Let's go back to our boys, Richie and Riley. These guys are fantastic. I literally can watch them. Look at the ankle bend on that guy. Unbelievable at the initiation. Both of them are tremendous skiers. But again, same kind of thing. Are the legs really visibly longer and shorter than the other?
Yes. at
Yeah, they
different
are, but
times.
not like tremendous.
No, here a lot more than the other one.
Well,
There's
a lot more than the other
they're
one.
going a lot
But this is
faster
more-
too.
This is more dynamic skiing
Yeah,
than
more
TDK was
dynamic,
doing,
yeah.
right? Way more dynamic skiing than TDK was doing.
It
So if
seems
they're
to me
not-
that it's basically the type of turn and how wide you're making your turn that will
Well,
determine
yeah,
the
they-
length.
And they'll make some longer turns here, right? That's short radius. That's
Mhm.
more medium radius there. Schmedium, probably more schmedium.
But the knee bend might be different too. If you're lower to the slope, and more dynamic like this, you might be able to see more long leg, short leg than if you were more upright in a parallel skiing, kind of moseying along on easier terrain.
Well, the point that I'm making is long leg, short leg really the answer here? What are they
Yes.
doing differently?
It's where they're putting the pressure.
Well, we're assuming they're putting a lot of pressure on the outside ski. Let's
Mhm.
make that assumption up first. And I'm going to say it's probably somewhere between 85 and 95% outside ski pressure. But it doesn't look like it, right?
I'm sorry, you're asking the difference between these
This?
guys and the previous video?
No.
So I agree with the question he asked. He said, is it really vital is long leg, short leg the primary thing we're going after here? And I'm going to say no. I don't think it is. I think it's confusing for students, long leg, short leg. And you hear them talk about it and they really don't. I don't know. I even remember the days where I'm like, long leg, short leg, what, you're just directing pressure to the outside ski and you're rotating your legs under your body and your center of mass is trying to stay centered and forward and you're going on edge. I mean, there's so many other things I think that come into play here than to focus on a long leg or short leg. The pressure to me to the outside ski is key in order to bend the ski and, do all the other things that are required to make a turn efficient. Does that make sense?
Yes. So what
But-
are they doing differently?
You're talking differently, this person versus the previous one, or
No,
just,
they're all doing the same thing.
right?
They're all doing the
Okay.
same thing. And Gordon already used the word.
Keeping their center mass
It does
inside
have
the
a-
turn.
It has
Well,
a
they-
ton to do with the center of mass. But it's how we react to things over the center of mass.
But I think it also really has to do with terrain.
Well,
The
it does.
steepness of the terrain
this
is
is-
automatically going to get you long leg, short leg.
Yeah, but let's
I mean,
not, let's not-
if you're walking up a staircase or walking down a staircase, one leg is going to be long, one is going to be short.
Yes. And we're agreeing that one leg is slightly shorter than the other leg, but not
Yes.
like what we're used to, what the ideal is that we're talking about. So how is it different?
Well,
Are we
you can
doing
have a long leg,
biomechanically that is different?
you can lengthen the leg without really directing pressure to it in a way. You could have a long leg and not be pressured on it, so that what's important is not so much the discrepancy or the length of the legs as much as where the pressure is.
Well, I think it's the difference that I see in the two different skiers is the control of the edge angle and the inclination and the angulation of the body. And that changes the position of the legs.
Okay. That's related. So I got my trusty slack box here, and I'm going to stand on one leg. Okay. What did I have to do to balance? Whoa.
Well, you have a counter. You have a counter of your upper body, your center of
I
mass.
had to do this, right? And you could do this by yourself. I mean, I'm standing here on my flat foot. I'm gonna do my yoga thing and stand here like this. I can do it this way, but it's way easier when I create what?
Angles.
Are you talking about your hips parallel to?
Yeah. So look at TDK there. How are his hips?
Well, but it doesn't look like your hips were level, but
My hips are level because I'm not resisting forward. The forces I'm resisting are straight down, right? But in order for me to balance, I have to create a counterbalance. If I was going skiing, I'd be like this, right? Well, I wouldn't
That's
be like
fair.
this. I would be more like this, right?
that's fair.
Yeah. But this is a very good example. I encourage you guys to do this. Stand up and stand on one leg and look what happens when you lift one leg up. What do I got to do that's different? I have to counterbalance against it. Right? The slack block makes it even harder because, of course, now I'm on an immovable or a movable platform, and I really have to be careful of, because it's not stable, right? Kind of like snow. It's not always that stable.
So the difference is the more dynamic turns, there's more angles.
There's more angles, but the word is, what is the word, Gordon? Lateral
Motion.
More
lateral
separation.
We have to separate laterally. And so when you see TDK here, and we'll go ahead and throw up the other guys real quick. Is this right? No, here you go. Richie Berger. And look at the separation laterally. They're creating angles.
And most of it's happening between their knees and ankles.
Yeah. And one of the things that happens when we do that separation thing, and I'm just going to do this real quickly. Once we're doing this separation thing, where's my center of mass? Is like right here, right my belly button, right? And if I lift up, where's my center of mass move?
Over there.
I don't think your center of mass is moving.
It's moving, but it's moving slightly over the extended leg, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the difference between long leg, short leg, and move and resisting forces against the center of mass. is that yes, we're using long leg, short leg. We're not going to ignore long leg, short leg. It's an important reference point for ski to ski, but it's not always happening the way we think it should be happening. And that can be very confusing. Because like when we're looking at TDK, we're looking at Richie Berger, these guys are so skilled, their feet look like they're plastered together, and you can't really say, oh my God, look at all the pressure on the outside foot. You know, they don't really display a lot of pressure on the outside foot. And it can be kind of confusing. But what they are doing is they're aligning the center of mass over the outside foot, which allows it to resist better. And they're doing that with lateral separation. And that's what good old Michaela here is doing. And these are about where the center of mass should be, right? And they're aligned. If you look at it, it's aligned over the outside leg. And in the middle of the turn, it's aligned in the middle. And when it's on the next turn, it's aligned over the outside leg. And how are we doing that, Gordon?
Just doing that with angulation, hip
How's
angulation.
angulation? Yeah, but we're not really going to use that today. What we're going to talk about is aligning
But
the shoulder and the hips, right? Because that's one thing you
Right.
can look at her, you go, her shoulders are aligned with her pelvis.
so yeah, her,
Aligned with her
you can-
pelvis. Her shoulders are aligned with her pelvis.
so she's moving her center of mass by virtue of having her upper body pretty upright. If her upper body was more to the inside, her center of mass would move inside and up.
It would be more aligned over both legs instead of the one
The
leg.
inside, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say
Get
on
you.
that first picture, I don't think her shoulders are aligned with her hips. I think her
It might
hips,
be- it might be the angle too, but yeah.
right. But I,
mean, but
but I see where you're going.
99.9% sure, Scott, that's what
Yeah.
her singular focus is. Because I honestly believe her lateral separation is Michaela's superpower. She does it way more than the other girls.
Yeah.
Way more. She tries to keep that upper body just absolutely as vertical as she can. Knowing that she can't, because the forces won't allow her to do that, but she has way more lateral separation than all the other girls.
Yeah.
You know, Chuck, the other thing I think that bears discussion that I don't think gets discussed a lot is the ski to ski pressure, the outside ski pressure. We're always saying, oh, get 90% of your weight on your outside ski. That's momentary. I mean,
It
that's
is momentary.
only for a brief point in time because you're always transitioning from one to the other.
Yeah, and that's true. So how much is enough? How much is enough?
Depends on how hard the snow is.
Oh, you use the number one word that the PSIA always talks about. Well, it depends.
Yeah.
Right? But, it depends on the situation. We don't want to talk about absolutes. We want to talk about, and I hear this at every single clinic, and it does not matter whether it's a low level clinic or you get up to these high level 3. Everybody in the group is a level 3 or RMT National Academy things. And you hear the same question every single time. Well, how much pressure should I have to the outside ski? And the answer is always the same. What you need, whatever is enough. Well, what is it? Is 75, 80%? Whatever you need at that moment, And the key is, for me, is the last couple of years has been whatever I need to do to align my pelvis so that my center of mass is directed to the outside ski. And that's really been kind of my visual standpoint. Don't take this as gospel. This is gospel according to Chuck. And Chuck is, not Jesus or Mark or any of the other Imperials. But I honestly believe that lining the center of mass over the outside ski is the key to having the correct amount of outside ski pressure, even though I may not demonstrate it all the time. a matter of fact, I
Let me
know I
ask-
don't, because I'm terrible.
Can't you just simply say it's at least 50%, but probably a greater?
If it's
But it has to be at
50%,
least 50%, right? It's
if
not
it's
going to be
50%,
30%.
you look like this.
So I
Right.
mean, the answer still depends. Scott, who were we working with last year? It was Hickok. And we were trying to get really, really high edge angles. And we were keeping pressure on the inside ski early to let us not create a lot of grip in the ski to get the high edge angle, but then getting the pressure to the outside ski later in the turn. That was a
Yeah.
way of getting a higher edge angle, which that blew my mind because that was completely counter to everything I was thinking at the time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Gordon, say that again. I didn't quite hear that. What did you say? Say it again.
So we were working with Tom Hickok and we were working on getting higher edge angles earlier. And the notion was what's that?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, the notion was trying to get really, really high edge angles. But his point was that sometimes in order to do that, you didn't want to get a lot of grip until you had the skis way up on edge, and then you would get the pressure to the outside ski to really create the grip there. His point was if you were keeping grip the whole way, the ski would start to push you to the inside. You wouldn't be able to let it drift outside, move your feet outside, get your center of mass down low, which you have to do to create the high edge angle. So his idea was keep the pressure pretty equal so you're not getting a lot of grip until you get them up on edge, and then move a little bit over the outside ski. And I've read about the World Cup racers, and you can kind of see it too. They won't have a lot of angulation early in the turn when they're really going fast, but as the skis start to grip and come around and they slow down, they will move their upper body back balanced over that outside ski to create more grip later in the
That's
turn
kinda
as
what
their
I got.
speed is declining.
And that's what I got up on the screen right now is these are all the World Cuppers, right? And when do they get engagement? Most of them, this is like free skiing. So these are warm-ups, right?
We talked about letting your skis drift out to get away from your body before you're edging, because if you grip too soon, the skis don't get far enough away from you to create the edge angle.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's true. Now, when I brought that up a couple of years ago to Jimmy Shaw, he immediately called me out and said, so how do you get pressure to that ski? And I didn't have an answer for him at the time. Now I've got a very, very good answer.
Counter.
But I was exploring this idea of skis release and then they move out quickly. And that creates edge angle all by itself because I'm trying to keep the center of mass to the inside of the ski and it creates edge angle. But how do I pressure those skis? And now it's like, okay, no, I have the body, because the body outraces the skis. Skis are going sideways, body's going down the hill. I'm already ahead of my skis, so I can gas pedal them whenever I need to, which is kind of what these girls here are doing, right? They're letting the skis get on a high edge angle and then gas pedaling and bam. Look how quickly those skis come around.
They're really not edging to like the apex of the ski of the turn is where they're really getting the maximum edge.
Yeah. Oh, they're getting maximum edges at the apex. It might not be clean, but I don't think they really care. They're not going for a PSI exam. They're going to do a World Cup race where pressure for them is instantaneous and may only be a ski length or a ski length and a half long. And they're immediately out of it. And the skis, by releasing them, are literally flinging them across the hill. 'Cause
Well, you,
I don't
you
think
don't
any
s-
of these girls weighs more than 165 pounds. I mean,
yeah,
none of them are big. They're tiny. I mean, I take that back. Petra here is almost 6 feet tall. She's almost my height, but she doesn't, oh my God, she's like this big around, right? She's tiny. The camera adds pounds.
yeah. The other thing I see, especially, I don't know who this is, but especially with her, is she's very progressive. The skis are tipping up or flattening. They don't just slam on edge. Even with as quick of a turn as she's making, she's building that edge angle and then getting the pressure at the apex to make a sudden direction change.
Well, that's Michaela because that's that Barilla helmet. But notice, I mean, go back to that. I mean, when you go back to watch her, watch her upper body. It doesn't move that much. She's trying to hold it vertical. All these girls are trying to hold it vertical. Anyway, we're getting kind of off topic here, but because I wanted to show, and we're already at 8 o'clock, I wanted to show some less than ideal, but it's always good to see the ideals because when you got a girl like this, right, you pretty much can pick out where her center of mass is, which is going to be like right in here, and how it aligns naturally over the outside leg and not the inside leg, and how her shoulders and her pelvis are, they're pretty parallel. They're pretty parallel. Yeah, she has a long leg, short leg relationship, but not like our guests. Our guests are doing it wrong. Our guests, they don't look like this. They look like, you know, they look like this. You know?
Well, and
They're
it's
not-
it's
they're
like
not-
that
Huh?
first video, Chuck, that you showed us, had us look at. What did Katie say at the end? She goes, "My torso is going downhill the whole time. My hips and
Exactly.
shoulders are pointing downhill." And that's what the racers are doing. They're going downhill. Their torso's not going across. It's going as downhill as they can get it going.
Yes, exactly. And none of these guys are going down the hill, right?
Right.
They're going away from the hill. They're resisting the hill. They're turning away from danger because danger is down the hill.
Yeah.
I don't want to go faster. I want to go slower. But that robs you. It robs you. But even there, I mean, and this is kind of the point that I was making, was how the center of mass aligns over the outside leg, because you can't focus on just center of mass. And the question of the day was, is long leg, short leg what we want to look at, or do we want to look at center of mass? No, you have to look at the combination of two and how they interrelate. The center of mass has to align over the outside ski. Otherwise, you're not getting pressure to the outside ski. These folks metronome, right? The center of mass moves like this. They metronome. Long leg, short leg is important to get you where you need to go. But if you're just long legging and your body tilts with the legs, you're doing the same thing that number 3 over here is doing. Right? He's got a long leg, short leg relationship, but he's clearly, that's not what we want. Shoulders are pointed away from the hill, hips are pointed away from the hill, hands are pointed away from the hill. We're all going in the wrong direction.
He's got no angulation. It's all inclination.
Yeah. Way to bring another fundamental in there, Scott.
Well, but you
Yes,
you
they're
gotta
all-
have angulation at the hips to get your weight to the outside ski. You have to.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. All right, you guys ready to see a lesser than?
Oh, got me in those last pictures.
Yeah,
Their center of mass is more towards the inside ski, correct?
yeah, their center of mass is balanced over, well, both skis, but yeah. I mean, the problem is that because they haven't centered the mass, they haven't aligned it over the outside ski, they haven't successfully placed enough pressure onto the outside ski.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Now are doing the 50-50 thing, you know? And it really, when you're trying to do that, you know, if I'm trying to align and I lift up one leg like this and I try to align to the inside like this, I tip. And then all of a sudden I don't have pressure. I got pressure here. I don't have pressure here anymore. And it doesn't matter how many forces there are. And there are other fundamentals that start getting involved that start to destroy their outside ski pressure, namely rotation and fore aft.
Okay.
And then you start losing that outside ski pressure, and guess what happens? The ski runs away from you and bad things happen, right? Because we just don't have the strength, and the body's not built to hold on the inside ski. We just don't have that kind of, we're not fundamentally structured to do that. That's why the big toes are on the inside. Cool. Any questions? Is this a lot? So the last
It's
couple of
good.
weeks, I suddenly realized that everybody was kind of up to speed on this, and I wanted to make sure that I kept this at the level of the group. Anybody lost? Nobody's lost? All right. I am open to questions. If you disagree or you've heard something different, I want to hear about it.
So I haven't watched this yet, but Deb Armstrong has a YouTube video on teaching the hips first.
Yes.
Did you see that? I have
Yes.
not seen it, but I'm looking forward to it.
I would 100% watch it. And the guy that she is talking to, his name is Scott. And I skied with him at Spring Fling in Vail. And the whole time, the first day I was going, I know you. Didn't we do this clinic together? I know you. And then it happened like 10 a.m. the next morning. Oh, you were at Deb Armstrong's video, weren't you? Yes, I was. That was me. Yeah, really nice guy, really excellent skier. I've got video of him if you want to watch him. Very, very good skier. And he got a lot out of the whole thing. He's an RMT candidate and a really sweet guy from Taos. So yeah. But watch the video. Again, you know, what he indicated to me that Deb is very much a taskmaster, and she really, really wants you to feel it, experience it, get a hold of it, and then she'll just badger you to death until you fully understand. Because it's very nuanced skiing. When you reach that level, you're talking about tiny little steps for big change, and it gets very hard. It's really hard. Yeah.
What's
Really
the name of the video?
Huh?
What's the name of the video by Deb?
It's called
Deb
Teaching
Armstrong.
Hips First.
Actually,
Deb
she did.
Armstrong.
She did 2 videos with him. One of them was about aligning over the outside ski through hips, keeping the hips level. And the other one was, I don't even remember what it was now, but they're both very, very good videos. Highly recommend them. If you're really looking for that kind of level of skiing, if you haven't seen them already, it's kind of shame on you, honestly. She does fantastic videos.
Yes.
And if you haven't seen her rant yet against the PSIA, where she's like, we need to go back to stepping stones. I grew up with stepping stones back in the 90s. I know all about that. So yeah. All right. So, all right, here we go. This is a level 3 candidate.
He's like a ski instructor trying to make perfect turns.
Yes, Scott, as all his ski instructors are.
Right.
So tell me what you like and tell me what you don't like.
I like his consistent speed
Yeah,
and speed control is great. His skis are nice and parallel. I like that.
yeah.
But I don't like that he's not getting any separation of his upper and lower body very well. It looks like he squares up a lot at the end of his turns, which isn't.
Probably more on one side than the other.
Yeah.
Like this one is like, what's going on here?
Yeah, he's like forcing the counter there.
Yeah,
Hip dip.
you look at the zipper line there, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Why is
Oh,
there
yeah.
a zipper line?
Where he's all inclination here.
Yeah. But he's trying to get pressure to the outside ski, right? Because that's what the guy he works with out of Snowmass is Kevin Jordan, who's on the national
Yeah.
team. And Kevin Jordan's been chirping in his ear about outside ski pressure. So what is he doing that's correct or incorrect?
So am I
There's
seeing
the
it?
long leg, short leg right now. I see long leg, short leg.
Yeah, so am I seeing it correctly that he is getting some separation in the middle of the turn, but Scott, as you said, he squares up at the end. And
Yeah.
then he's got to start each turn by almost a counter rotation, but an anticipation of turning that upper body in to start turning the
Yeah.
skis.
Cool. Like it. Love it. Great eyes.
Would you
Great,
also say
great
that-
vision.
I'm sorry. Would you also say that his skis seem to be getting out from under him? Like his skis seem to be getting a little too far forward at the end of the turn. And it's putting him in the back seat a little bit.
I would suggest that not at the beginning of the turn, but more at the
At
end.
the end, oh yeah, at the end.
Yeah, because you kind of watch the tails kind of wash away.
Yeah,
But I think I honestly, and I'm splitting hairs here. It might be related to his ski to ski pressure. And
But he has more
I'll explain
pressure on
why
the
later,
inside than
okay?
the outside ski. That's what's,
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
he has more pressure on the inside than the outside ski.
Tell me how you know that.
Let me see if how I can word that. Because he is inclining without any angulation, the center of mass is more, there's more weight on the inside ski.
Is there
So it's
anything,
the inside ski is more pressure than the outside because there is no inclination without angulation. Does that make sense?
yes. So is there anything, and I'm looking for something very specific here that we've been talking about tonight.
So I feel like I think it might be this turn, but maybe it's the next one on this side.
This is the
Is-
better of the two turns. This is the worst of the two turns. And I can tell it's the worst one because when I go to here, I look at a zipper and I go, what is that?
But so in here, his interior ski is slightly more on edge than his exterior ski. And I feel like that happens on the alternating turn as well, which leads me to believe what Rebecca said, that he has more weight on the inside ski than he needs.
See, I'm looking at the turn shape and it's a pretty round turn. So I think in the shaping phase of the turn, he's got to be getting some pressure to the outside ski. I mean, I agree that he's not got a lot of angulation, but if you look at his zipper, he's almost tipping his spine to the inside of the turn to move the center of mass a little bit over the ski in the shaping phase. Here, it's pretty straight, but at times that zipper has a distinct C-shaped curve to it.
And it's this side, right?
Yeah,
It's this
I mean,
side
I'm-
especially.
just watching him, his turn shape looks a lot better than I would expect for how he's squaring up at the ends of the turn.
But what is going on with his shoulders in relation to his spine and his pelvis? So one of the things I didn't get around to is whatever, in fact, let me go back to this because it would kind of actually be kind of useful. Because you had one little statement here. Oh, by the way, why do we want to do this? Because if we create separation, we get more mass over the inside edge of the outside ski. And if we just tip in like a metronome, the mass is way far away from the outside ski. And we can't put enough pressure on it. That's the number one reason why we need to create that separation. But here it is right here. And it's in quotes. So it's not hard to find. This is from your slide. Gordon, come on, man. You got to help me out here.
That's not my slide. I didn't do Brazilian.
Yes, you
butt
did
lift.
too. You put it in here. The Brazilian butt lift.
Yeah, that comes out of Murmur Blakesley, the Brazilian butt lift.
The Brazilian
Yeah.
butt lift.
That's a new one on me.
Oh,
By the way,
it's in
there's
your
also
slide
a
deck.
quotation, pinch in
Okay.
the waist.
Chuck, I can pull up my slides and show you that that's not in there.
Why, you want me to pull up your slides? Because I will.
Yeah, it's not me.
It's not you. All right. So anyway, the whole point of this is to look at it when you're watching his skiing. And yes, it's one side is worse than the other. One side he's not as bad on when he goes from right to left or left to right, this turn here, because he does kind of create. But look at the hips. And what's worse is you can actually see it visibly because his shoulders are tilted this way. His hips are tilted this way. And he is not aligning his center of mass over the outside ski. He is consistently trying to keep the center of mass between the skis. And then when he gets over here, it just all completely falls apart. And he gets to right here, and you can see the C shape. Where's the center of mass? It's still between the skis. It's still between the skis.
And that's why he's sliding his turns so much.
Oh God, look at the inside leg. It's even
Yeah.
deformed trying to support that foot or this mass. Right? He's aligning the mass. You could see the shin bone pointing towards the center of mass because he's trying to support it in some way. And that's where you get this weirdness. And then who was the one who pointed out that maybe the foreaft might be a little bit off? Because he gets to right here, and then what happens with the skis? He's
There
so
you
far
go.
forward, the rear end of his outside ski starts to fall away. Starts to slide faster than the inside or the tip of the ski. Which is worse because he still hasn't aligned his center of mass over the outside ski for basic parallels.
So we want to see his hips and his shoulders kind of squared up down the hill. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
the right way to say that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
like we're right here. I mean, I got
Right.
the lines pointed at it. It's
Right.
like, what are you doing?
yeah.
and he's all contorted.
He's tilted, and that's why we talk about inclination.
Yeah.
Chuck, is he kind of doing a hip dump there? Trying to move his
Slightly,
butt
not
to
too
the
bad,
inside?
not real bad. I got videos of other folks from our ski school that were doing a very pronounced hip dump. And I called them out on it. Hip dump, in my mind, is actually part of the stepping stones, part of the progression. I mean, we all do it eventually because we suddenly discover, hey, look, how much I can extend that outside pressure to the outside ski, and I dump the hip in and lock it. And it's easy. Well, look how easy it is. Cool. All right, so I got somebody else here. No. All right. No, we're going to do it full speed first.
Gumbian Parkway.
Hey, if I'm going to throw a fellow instructor under the bus, I got to include myself, right?
How long ago was this?
2 years ago.
Hmm.
It was 2 years ago.
Would you say you're crushing the fronts of the boots at times?
I was probably very, very focused on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you're the one who was filming this, so.
That's right. I was wondering why that was so familiar. Thank you for not showing me.
So this is a good angle right here. And then there's a shift, long leg, short leg. And clearly I'm not going very fast. And this is not ideal.
Yeah, you don't ski like that now.
No, I like to think I do better, but you know,
Yeah.
it was pretty early in the year, and you know me, man, I just show up when I show up. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's slow it way down and make it really embarrassing. So there's,
You look like a ski instructor trying to make good parallel turns.
yeah, exactly. So there's not bad outside ski pressure.
But again, there's more inclination than angulation.
And part of that is because of the hill, right? Because it's not
Yeah.
very difficult. But there is some lateral separation there. And this one I brought up because mostly it's about the timing and less about the, you know, kind of what Phi was doing there. So can anybody pick it out? When does the ski pressure change? Because honestly, I think it's pretty obvious, but
Really,
probably because I've stared at this video too many times.
it's
It looks-
after the apex of the turn.
When?
It's kind of after the apex of the turn.
I see it at the
Okay.
transition.
Well, it's in the
Yeah.
transition, but I'm gonna lie to you and say, yes, the transition's way too long. And I'll point it out. So here is the end of the old turn and the start of the beginning turn, right? And then still not on the I'm still on the inside ski, still on the inside ski. And then eventually, bam, there it is.
Yeah,
Same
so
thing
that's
on
at
the
the
other
apex
side.
of the turn.
Yeah, that one was apex of the turn. Most of them are pretty close to the just before the apex of the turn. But yeah, it's like, and you could see it visibly happen. It's very visible. It's like, up there it is, bam. Right? Because there's actually a shift and you kind of see the legs slightly separate because I've moved to the new turn. Right?
So Chuck, is part of the reason that is happening because you're trying to make a big move down the hill, and you make the move down the hill, you're going so slow that the ski doesn't catch up to you to get pressure on it till later.
It sounds like a great excuse I might use.
Okay.
I'm going to say that the problem is that I have is that the same issue that we've been talking about all night, which is I'm not aligning the center of mass accurately over the new outside leg early enough. And so when it finally happens, it happens like here, and you can see the little step, little switch. And then it's like, okay, now I'm turning. And I'm aligned, but I could be better aligned. I could be more aligned. And I get around right here, and you can visibly see it happen. It's like, I'm not there, I'm not there, I'm not there, I'm not there. And then, zoop, there it is. So yeah, Rebecca, you're probably right. It's really close to the apex, or maybe slightly before, or with right at, or maybe even after. You can see it, it's like, I'm not in, I'm not there, I'm not there, I'm not there. And then suddenly, okay, I'm committed now. And it should be happening here. And what's the drill that we use for that?
Outside ski
Scott's your
turns.
favorite.
I just said it, outside ski turns.
Outside ski turns, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, if we can't laugh at ourselves, we can't laugh at anybody, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so as a closer, because some folks had to jump off, thank you very much for putting up with me tonight. I know I sometimes get on these little, you have to do it this way or no way, but hopefully everybody got a little piece out of it. I'd love to hear from some of you if there were like some new, I got something new and amazing that I really want to use next year. I'm going to tell you right now, last year, I spent a lot of time on outside ski turns and edging. That was what I taught a lot of, because I kind of felt like I was a little weak on those. And I really, really wanted to make sure. And of course, a lot of the teaching I had were bumps and steeps and things like that. Level 7, level 6 kids, which that's where they're at. They're looking for more outside ski pressure. They're looking for more edging and more nuanced movements that you need to do. So is anybody getting anything interesting or cool out of this tonight? Because I'd love to hear that. Or am I just?
I like the lateral hip movement, keeping them focused downhill, which I've thought about it, but this just reinforces it. So
Cool.
that was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else?
So I like Rebecca's point about when the pressure is actually getting to the outside ski, the apex, instead of remaining on the outside ski from initiation all the way through. That's something I'll start looking for more is timing.
Yeah, cool. Anybody else? Come on, Jeff, I know you're ready. You're looking to tear me apart, man.
Not tonight.
Like the center of mass discussion.
I'm just gonna save it up.
Is it Ilona or Alona?
It's Ilona. So what I think in looking at Rebecca Howe's or Jessica Howe's video, Howie, yeah, is the combination of things, is the combination of both intuitive skiing, someone who has the natural ability to be dynamic, and then coordinating with the technical fundamentals. And I know I personally struggle with that because I tend to get more focused on the technical aspects than being intuitive.
That's one of the things I love about Kate. It's Kate Howe.
Kate Howe, thank you. This is the first time I saw her.
Yeah, is her ability to make a direct connection in simplest terms about what she's talking about, and that you can immediately take to the hill and talk about tomorrow. And she has a fantastically good video about building trust. I highly recommend you look it up too and watch that. It's called Building Trust with Guests. And it is one of the best videos ever for a guy like me who's not sensitive to people's feelings. It is a fantastically good video on looking for cues and things like that, and being able to respond to people in a way that's not so off-putting.
What's the name of that?
Building, hold on, let me take a look. It's on YouTube and it's called Building Trust. Building Trust. You can look up Kate Howe Building Trust, it'll probably pop right up. Oops, wrong one.
How do you spell her last name? Kate Howe. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and Kate Howe also has another one about overcoming assessment jitters or exam jitters too. She was really highly respected at Aspen and was like trying out for the national.
How do you spell her last name?
Huh?
How do you spell her last name?
Howe, Howe. And if I need to send it to you, I mean, I've downloaded like all her stuff.
If you could do that,
That would be appreciated, Chuck.
yeah, for sure.
I always feel nervous whenever I do that. Developing mental toughness on the hill. Where is it now? God, come on, Kate, where you at? I love her. I love her, love her, love her. I wish she was still doing it. I don't understand why she isn't. Building the Bridge of Trust with Kate Howe. And it is, if I don't listen to it at least once a month, because I'm on the opposite side of her. She is, you could clearly tell that her superpower was the ability to make a connection with the guest instantly. And I just want to be like her.
Can you put that in the chat?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
still
I'll
can't
put it in
find
chat.
it.
All right, hold on. I gotta
I
find
found
it.
bridges.
Or you gotta solve,
You can do it, Gumby.
chat.
All right, fine. You're gonna hold on. It's in YouTube. Come on, you're killing me.
I tried.
She has some really good videos of go to her channel. Her channel's still up. Building bridge. Oh, good Lord. It's not even, you're killing me. Oh, maybe, you know what? It might be on another channel. It's probably on Vimeo. Give me a minute. I'll go ahead and throw my link in there.
Thank you.
A lot of her stuff is on Vimeo too. which is.
Yeah, it's Venmo.
It's Vimeo. Symposium videos. Building the bridge
Hey,
of trust. Here we go. Copy.
Does
that.
Josh Fogg know what he's doing?
Josh Fogg is actually really good too. He's way more technical.
Okay. Because
But I listen to him. If you ever get a chance, there's another one. One of the best videos ever that I ever got, which was, I got it offhand and was like one of the very first webinars that came out. And it was with, funny enough, it was with Jim Shaw talking about talking about pressure management. And of course, Gordon's gone, but I even came up with a new statement, which I sent to him, and he laughed at me about pressure management. But it's really, really good too. I mean, I love webinars. They're so good. I mean, they're worth the money to get into, and I record them all. So anyway, I threw it in chat. So go ahead and download it if you want. Highly recommend. If you're like, especially if you're like me and you're slightly, not a people person, Kate Howe is my God.
Mhm.
Goddess. You guys find it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Lona, you got it too?
Yep, I have it. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You guys have the best night ever, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Hi, Chuck. Thanks always.
Have a great night.
Thank you.